the Deskwarmers Podcast. It's the Deskwarmers Podcast. It's the Oh, hello and welcome back to the Deskwarmers Podcast.
That was so good, Matthew.
Thank you. That's our new podcast intro. Yay!
It was just done live for us.
It was done live. Yeah. You know what can I say? We're gonna ship that off. It's probably gonna be a big hit one day. Anyway,
I'm just happy that was such a warm opening when it's just you and I here today, Matthew. Like, I feel like a guest would have needed to, experience that firsthand.
A guest would have loved it, and a guest would have probably asked me to continue playing. I think you're right. But you're right. Unfortunately, no guest today. I do have another surprise drink of the week.
Oh, no shot! No,
it's Pea Sweat. It's Pea Sweat.
It's in a can.
It's Pocari Sweat in a can. It's actually Korean Pocari Sweat.
What?
Same Asian market I went to last week. This time they had Pocari Sweat.
Wow.
So I'm very happy.
I mean, I'm still Team Aquarius.
What? Oh, no. You're live or die Aquarius.
Pocari Sweat is disgusting.
Aquarius
is like sweeter.
No,
it's like sweeter though.
Why would you want something that's sweet?
Because it's like, it reminds you of home, like Gatorade.
This is like you're rehydrating. The whole thesis of like what Pocari Sweat is meant to be is hydration.
Matthew, when I did tennis camp as a young child, they would let us choose how much Gatorade powder we wanted to put in our drinks, and I would load that.
That sounds ill-advised.
Up.
That
I would get sick off sugar.
I'd imagine.
Oh, it was great.
All that work you're doing in tennis, and it doesn't even matter because you're just refilling.
No, it was
that
worth
sugar.
it. It was worth it.
No, anyway, Pocari
so
Sweat
many
for
kids
life.
got heat
Pocari Sweat for life. I'm not going to hear another word of it. Oh, if you want to have this debate, we can have this debate.
No. We gotta get back into the country of Pocari Sweat.
Okay.
We have to transition back to Japan. That is our podcast, Deskwarmers Podcast, Japan. I mean, today we actually had some questions in our Discord, right?
These actually came from Spotify. Believe it or not, a Spotify comment of the week wants to know if we have any advice about planning out a trip, making an itinerary, or otherwise using your Nenkyu, your time off, wisely.
Yeah. And I think there will really be like two approaches that we're going to cover. One is ALTs living in Japan or just living in Japan, right? And then taking a trip for a few days or a week or something. And then the other one is if you are trying to go on a visit to Japan, I think we'll want to cover some of those tips as well if you're traveling from internationally out of the country to Japan.
Yeah, so whether you're a teacher or whether you're trying to visit a teacher or just visit the sites in Japan, we will try and get you covered today.
Yeah, and I mean, the great thing too is we did so many fun trips. So for our 2 years in Japan, I was there a year before you, and then you did a year after. We went on... I mean, we try to do like 2 bigger trips each year and then sometimes like 3 trips. I mean, we would do smaller trips on the weekend or for a 3-day weekend, but we really did have the opportunity to use all of our Nenkyu to go all around Japan. And Nenkyu is time off for those who don't know, but for the JET program, you're given 10 days of Nenkyu per year. So you get to, wait, is it 20?
It's 20 days, Ike.
You're right.
Are you trying to spread misinformation? Right. What's going on? However,
so right.
You are kind of right. You're like half right. The first year of your JET program experience, Chigao, the first half year, you're entitled to 10 days of paid vacation, paid time off at least. So this is in order to kind of prevent you from using all 20 days. Like too soon, so you get a good first couple weeks in your placement area, so you're not like using it in like summer vacation right when you get there. So new ALTs who just get to Japan, they have 10 days of paid leave. After the new year, they unlock the next 10 days. And then once their full year comes around, the next summer or whenever you got on the program, you'll immediately get 20 more days that you can use.
And that's in addition to the holidays you get, because you do get all the Japanese public holidays, which is around like 12 to 14, I think.
Yeah.
Depending on the year. That did always piss me off, though, that if a holiday fell on a weekend, you just lost that holiday. They wouldn't move it to the Monday or Friday. It was just gone.
Sometimes they would, depending on the holiday. Like, for example, this past year, I think the Emperor's birthday was on a Saturday. They had that next Monday off.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it does happen sometimes, but not all the time, because I do remember certain holidays we just lost.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to switch up Mountain Day. Like, if Mountain Day falls on a Saturday or something, they're probably not going to switch up Mountain Day.
It would even happen with Golden Week, though, sometimes, too, where sometimes you would get, like, 3 or 4 days, and then other times you would get, like,
That's
less,
true. Ike,
like.
do you want to explain what Golden Week is?
Yeah, so Golden Week is a series of, is it 4 holidays or 3? I actually don't know.
I think it's 4, but I can check this real quick.
Yeah, and anyway, it's holidays that fall within, like, 1 week. And so it's called Golden Week because you basically have that week, if you choose to take 1 or 2 days of Nenkyu, to actually just have the whole week off. Go on vacation, stay at home, relax, do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But it's also really popular for, it's almost like a summer shutdown because it does typically happen in those summer months. It's like August. Am I just
I don't know what you're
today?
thinking about. I think you might be losing it. First, you're coming into this podcast saying, "Oh, I love Aquarius." I think that's probably where you got off on the wrong foot. Golden Week is traditionally in the spring. So
no shot.
In 2023, I pulled up the area
It's been
guide
too long
that I made. In 2023, Golden Week was from April 29th to May 5th. The holidays in Golden Week are all public holidays, that being Showa Day on April 29th of that year, May 3rd, Constitutional Memorial Day, which I think is always May 3rd. May 4th is Greenery Day. Good for greenery. We love the trees. And May 5th is Children's Day.
Okay, well, I need to stop,
drinking
spreading
Aquarius.
Misinformation. Yeah, I've clearly been away from Japan for too long. I'm starting to forget all of these, key things that really influenced my life.
Hey, but you know what? That's why we have this podcast, to reminisce, to rehash, and to re-educate, because you need it.
Yes. Yeah. And the typical 2 times that we would always make sure to do our bigger trips was always that Golden Week and then New Year's. Mm-hmm. Around New Year's, you also have a few days off. I'm not going to quote any number because I'm scared now, but we do have a few days off around New Year. And so typically you actually don't get Christmas off in Japan, unless it does luckily fall on some day around there. But unless it falls on a weekend, I guess is the only shot you have.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of us, we actually would take Christmas off, and then usually like through New Year's, we would try to do something. But it is unfortunate that you still do have to use Nenkyu at both those times, even just to get like a whole week off.
That's true. So while the schools are usually off, like let's take the New Year, for example, the schools will shut down over the New Year holiday. Now, sometimes the school will let you take a like Tokyu Day. I think it's called Tokyu, which is Tokubetsu Q, whatever that Q stands for. That's like the specialty leave. So you have Nenkyu, which is your normal paid leave. And then if at all they let you have a day off otherwise and are paying for a day off, it's going to be called Tokyu, I believe. That's that special day off. Sometimes schools will close and you don't know that you are to have a day off that day. This happened to me. It wasn't communicated to me my first year that the school was closing and I was receiving Tokyu because none of the teachers were working. This happens almost always around the New Year's as like, okay, let's give the teachers some New Year's rest and go celebrate with their families. Go do a trip, add on some Nenkyu on the other half of that, vacation time where the kids aren't in school. But I remember going to school one day, the doors were locked. I'm like trying to open the double doors. I'm texting my Tantosha, like, the school is locked. Was there a trip or something? And like 30 minutes after, like I'm waiting in my car for someone to answer. 30 minutes later, they're like, the school's closed. What are you doing? I'm like, nobody told me the school was closed. And
no, it happened to me too, Matthew.
Yeah?
Actually, Quinlan and I, neither of us knew my co-ALT at work, and we showed up. The parking lot was completely empty, and we had arrived around the same time. We're both like pulling on the doors, like knocking, like no one is there. Mm-hmm. And so we just both went home. We asked, like you said, your Tantoshi, your manager, and then they're like, yeah, today's off. I do feel like occasionally they would pull that, and then you would still have to go to work on like a weekend or something.
Also true.
Because sometimes we would have to work on a Saturday or Sunday, and then they would compensate that day by giving like a Monday or Friday off. Mm-hmm. And so usually it would be within like a 3-week span. You would have one Saturday and one day off of the week. But they made sure, I think, that you always like worked the full amount of days.
It's basically always even. They have budgeted exactly how many days each public worker is going to work so that they can get paid fairly, like way at the beginning of the year. And this comes from way up City Hall, Government Hall in the prefectural capital if you're in the high schools. And they're really serious about that because, you should get paid for how many days you work, and they're not just going to let a day slide, right? So you do have to go into work eventually. It's
very strict, yeah. But given this, time off that we do have, because we still do have a decent amount of it, I want us to go back to that initial question of how did we plan our trips? Where did we decide to go? And I think maybe some other helpful tips along the way. But you said, Matthew, that you had created several itineraries in the past. How were you able to kind of start that process flow?
Yes. When I was in high school, they used to call me Mr. Itinerary. So how would I start that? That's a good question. So potentially what you're seeing right now is my ideas and master list from my trip in 2023. For audio listeners, I'm going to do my best to describe this. For video listeners, if I don't have it up on the screen, then you're going to have to imagine this as well. I always start my itinerary lists with a who, what, when, where, and why. And these itinerary lists are important because it's on a Google Doc, and I share it with the entirety of people who are going to be on the trip, plus family members of those people, just so that they know where they are. I've had friends from America come and visit me, and I show them around Japan. The parents of my friends got a copy. Loved ones got a copy, just to make sure, because, international travel can be a little hectic. And, of course, I had a lot of time to make this document while at work, desk warming, believe it or not. So planning trips is a big thing that I did while desk warming. Anyway, the who, what, when, where, why. The who is going to be who's on the trip. The what is what we're going to be doing on the trip, like going to Osaka. Or
wouldn't that be the where?
Well, that would be the where. Or what would be like visiting the sites. I don't know. The when would be the times. The where would be like, okay, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, whatever. And the why is like a friendly little message. On this itinerary, I also have flight information, hotels and Airbnbs, activity ideas, the master schedule, my tips from cultural customs, and a space to leave comments, suggestions, and questions, and a language guide at the very end. So this was very well thought out by me, kind of patting myself on the back. I'm probably not going to share this document on screen because there's a lot of personal information I'm just now realizing on here. But
I could visualize it perfectly.
Do your best to imagine. There are a lot of fun fonts, unfortunately, that you're not being able to see. I would allow.
I'm more of an Excel guy, lay out my trip on Excel.
You do Excel
from days.
Okay.
I do, yeah. And I don't mean to hijack your glory here about your PowerPoint.
Hijack my glory.
For me, Excel, I can just get a little more detailed. So I like to put, the start end time, how long those journeys are going to be. So if I'm taking a Shinkansen or a plane, so similar to you, where you're going to have that layout of the maybe arrival and duration, and then kind of just those main stops. What I think we did in Japan with our friends is it would be a little looser than that, where we would say one day we want to do like one or two things. And typically we wouldn't have like an allocated time for that. We would just say we're going to do this and make sure we at least do like these two things. And anything beyond that is kind of just what we have time for. So it really depends how, pre-planned you want to be. I think both ways work, but I love Japan that you can go anywhere in the entire country and find something cool, but it is still worth to have some things researched beforehand, right? Like you don't want to just show up in a city and not know which area to go to.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Like we were talking about with the pumpkin man, Carl, a couple weeks ago.
Carl.
You don't just want to show up to Tanegashima not knowing what you want to do. You got to make a plan beforehand, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. It was pretty loose with our friend group. And this is the useful advice, guys. It's easy as an ALT. You've been accepted to the JET program. You just got to Japan, and maybe you did a study abroad in college, or maybe some people living in the town next to you, or maybe you're in Kyoto and like, oh, I've got a friend who lives in Osaka. You are going to meet ALTs from your town, and this is something that I didn't really expect to happen, especially so soon. And we've talked about this before, Ike, but like the second week I was in Japan, I was already going on a trip with people that I had just met, and this is something that I did not expect to do so soon, but it just kind of happened like that. And you have initially those 10 days of Nenkyu to take. And you should use them, especially early on in the summer months, when you're not doing anything. Like get your bearings of the area first, but like maybe take a day trip or something like that. Use your Nenkyu. Take a long weekend to go travel around. I had met some people in my time on the program, and not to say that this is bad or anything, but they really wanted to try and prioritize visiting other people that they had previously known from like study abroad or like other things, or like I got friends who live in a town over, and I felt like some of those people that I knew who were doing that were like, they weren't like ostracized or anything, but like I was always a little disappointed that they were going on a different trip and then they couldn't come to a trip that we were doing or events that we were planning or something like that. I don't know. Long rant.
I think that goes a few ways. I know with our JET ALT salary, there are only so many trips you can do, right? I think it is very livable, and especially depending on your city, your cost of living and expenses are going to be a lot higher. But it does result to that you will have to do a little bit of savings, I think, typically, before any of those bigger trips. The thing I do love about Japan, though, is how cheap, actually, surprisingly, the plane tickets are instead of even train or bus.
Yeah.
Because the Shinkansen is actually one of the more expensive ways to travel unless you have a JR pass, which is only available to tourists living in Japan. Or not living in Japan, but just tourists coming to Japan. So if you are living in Japan, you cannot get that JR pass, and you would have to buy each of those Shinkansen tickets by it individually. And so there are a lot of budget airlines. Like we used Jetstar a lot, the green one, especially out of Kyushu. And those airline tickets would cost maybe $60, and it would take you anywhere domestically.
And really, they're better than Frontier. They're better than Spirit.
Yeah.
It's because the staff is so nice.
Oh, it was very nice. And the only thing to watch out for those is they do weigh your luggage.
Yes.
Because that is how they really bump up your ticket price. So typically you're only allotted like 20 pounds or something, maybe even less. And so you really have to be conscious when packing. I actually never got flagged. I was quite lucky. I'm pretty sure my bag was overweight every time, but they never did anything about it. So there's that too. But
I wonder if they didn't want to go through the hassle of talking to a foreigner.
you might have a bit of a foreigner like pass, like most things, where they just don't want to confront you, you know. But
What do we call that? Gaijin smashing?
I had never even heard that phrase until Andy as well.
Yeah.
But that so the plane, I highly recommend, and they do go to all those like major areas. You can go to Okinawa, Osaka, Tokyo, Hokkaido, all for relatively cheap. And then buses and taxis and stuff are just gonna be more local. I mean, I did have even Sam, my fiance, when she went to what's the onsen, the famous onsen in Kyushu,
Kurokawa Onsen.
Yeah, when she went to Kurokawa Onsen, didn't have a car, she was still able to take a bus to get there, right? So there is almost always a route,
Yes.
but it will just be a little bit more like timing conscious for that. So
And I ordered a number of rental cars when I was in Japan doing trips, like with my mom, with my friends, going around to different places, and the rental cars were actually surprisingly affordable. Where they get you is the ETC pass, and the gas mileage, of course, is, you got to get gas, and gas is a little more expensive in Japan. That's where they really get you, but I mean, you'd have to pay that anyway. I just found it surprisingly convenient to rent a car, and I was able to drive from Osaka to Kumamoto, which I don't really recommend. But we can get into that another time. I was on a very tight schedule crunch. We had like 2 days. It was crazy.
I also did the rental car from Osaka all through Shikoku, but besides the toll expressways, kind of racking that bill up a little bit, I think that is also a good way to go. You will need an international driver's license before you come to Japan.
Yes.
So anyone that is either going to move or go on vacation, either one, you actually want to go to, is AAA the only place you can get it?
AAA does it in America and Canada.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah. And so you just go to your local AAA. Maybe you have to schedule an appointment. I think I did. And it's good for 1 year. So what all of us did is we still had cars in Japan with our international driver's license. And then just as they began to get to that 1 year mark, right before they expired, that was when we did the license process.
But hey, I think it's still a good idea to get your international driver's permit before coming to Japan, even if you don't plan on driving a car.
Yes.
And this is all dependent. No, you'd still need an international driver's permit wherever you come from. I was going to say some people don't need to take the license test, depending on where they come from. But you still need to have an international driver's permit.
That's true too. But yeah, I think as far as location and like what method of transportation, that's just going to vary on the size of the city as well. Because if you're just going to Tokyo, you're just going to take the trains everywhere and the subway. So that will also be a good, and that one is very cost effective too, where it's only like typically, between all those different Tokyo stations, it's like 500 yen per like train or whatever that you get on and go off. But I think for us, when we were planning trips, we would pick like one city we wanted to go to, and then we would look around the city or area. So most of the notable trips and some of these were a little before you got there, Matthew, and then you did some after as well.
Yeah.
But we did a trip to Tokyo, of course. We did one to Kyoto, Osaka. We did one to Okinawa. And then after that, Matthew got there. And then we did one to Hokkaido, which was our first big trip with Matthew.
I think.
We even went to Korea as well, South Korea. And that was super convenient because in Kyushu and Fukuoka, there's actually just a ferry that takes you in between.
I love the ferry. Ike had a horrible experience on the ferry, but I loved the ferry.
So the way there was amazing.
Okay.
Let's
Let's extrapolate a little bit. This ferry goes from Fukuoka to Busan. And it's a high-speed ferry. It's like a top-of-the-line model. It's called
It's
the
on
Queen.
foils.
It's on foils. So it's like, it jets up and it goes super fast, and it gets you to Korea in like 3.5 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Super fast.
And the way there, amazing. Went by so quick. We got lunch at the little cafeteria there.
Oh, it was so good. Cafeteria on the boat. We spent time in the gift shop on the boat. It was awesome. We found the smokers only deck.
The gift shop had the Aaron Yeager like rum or whiskey or something.
Yeah.
There was like a Attack on Titan like liquor.
They had all these doors that say don't go outside while the boat is moving. But like there's a smokers lounge at the back of the boat, which is just completely outside. So we hung out there and it was really cool.
That was kind of gross with the smoke, but
yeah. So we get to Busan. We have a wonderful time. We're in Busan. We go to Seoul. We take the train back to Busan. And yes, it is in like the zombie movies. But when we're at the port in Busan, and it's kind of crunch time because we all have work the next day.
Yeah.
And it's storming. The wind is whipping up. The waves are getting choppy, and it looks to be that there's a typhoon coming.
And they have signage everywhere, and it says maximum wave height is like 4.5 meters or something like that. And it said today's wave height, and it was like 4.2 meters. And everyone was like, including us, we were like, are we going to be able to go back? Mm-hmm. Like, is this ferry actually going to run? And once we got on the ferry too, I still remember the captain comes on the audio and he says, we might have to turn around. Mm-hmm. He's like, if it gets too bad, we're just going to go back. Is what he said to us.
Because they don't want to mess around in those. There was a ferry that sunk on the way to Jeju Island like 10 years ago, I think. But
yeah,
they are very serious about this.
No, and this boat too, like literally, because like we were saying, it goes out of the water, and these waves are so high, and there's windows on either side, and like some of the windows are getting like covered.
Okay.
Like you're going underwater.
Okay. So when we're on the boat, it starts out a little choppy, right? A little choppy. You're on the boat. You're going a little slow.
Choppy.
You're in the harbor. No, we're in the harbor. Okay, it's a little choppy, and we start to notice. So imagine the main cabin of this ferry is like, I don't know, 25 seats across. It's huge.
It's big.
Wide.
Yeah.
It is wide. 25 seats across, and then like 25 rows back, something like that. There's a ton of seats. Maybe not 25 rows. Maybe like 18 by 20. I don't know. I'm imagining that now. It's a lot. But it's like a really big thing. But it's kind of like a ballroom with a lot of seats, and the carpet and like the walls are kind of ballroom-esque. There's no chandeliers. But I start noticing support staff, whatever the flight attendant is of a boat, coming around and handing out like seasickness pills and barf bags.
But they did that on the way there too. Even on the way there, they passed out the seasick pills. And so this is where I went wrong, Matthew, because the way there, I said, no, I don't want that pill. Yeah. I don't want that weird medicine that you're trying to give me. I am good. I am chilling.
Yeah.
We are leaving. I've never gotten seasick before. I've been on a decent amount of boats. Never really in like a big storm, I guess. Mm-hmm. But way back, they're coming around, maybe now more aggressively handing out the pills and barf bags.
Quite aggressively.
But I'm still like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am good. I do not need that, right? We start going though, and my face gets so white. Like I am pale, like a ghost.
You were gassed-like.
And I could not move either. I'm just staring straight ahead. Like my friends are trying to talk to me. I just can't. I can't focus on anything right now.
Yeah.
I flag down the stewardess. I'm like, give me one of those pills. Like I'm like, I need that thing. So I take this mystery kusuri. I down this mystery pill, and the thing about that, I ran to the bathroom like 4 times thinking I was going to throw up. And I don't know what it was, and I'm sorry for the listeners, but the entire boat smelled like Cheetos.
It smelled like Cheetos. That's the
best way.
It was
That's
so
the
weird.
best way I can describe. And there's so many people throwing up.
Okay. So like, the waves were high. You said like 4.2
Yes.
meters.
Something crazy.
The way we were going along the water, the boat was tipping left to right. And Ike, you said this a little earlier, but you could see out the window, and this is probably what got a lot of people the most sick, looking out the window and watching the horizon go way above you and then go way under you. And you are like lateral to the water, looking out the window, going back and forth, back and forth. I had a pretty good time.
Did not. The only salvation I had is when I'd go into the bathroom and the stall walls were just this pure white.
Yeah.
And when I just actually would sit there and just look at the pure white wall, and that saved my life, because every time I went in there, I thought it was over.
Yeah.
I thought I was just gonna, and I never threw up. But then after the kusuri took effect, there was some sleeping drug laced in there too, because I fell out.
You were sleepy.
You
did fall asleep.
That first, I think it was hour and a half that I was awake, felt like 6 hours to me.
And that was the worst.
It felt
calmed up
so
after
long.
that. So yeah, just people retching, and the smell of Cheetos. I'm sorry to generate this
it was
image for
so
you.
bad.
And I did not feel sick at all. I don't know, something about me. Maybe I'm just built different. I don't know. No, I don't know what it was.
Constructed alternatively.
It was pretty bad. Moral of the story: if you're taking a ferry across a large body of water, check the weather. Otherwise, it was a good experience.
Yeah, it was
Very
fun.
convenient.
It was fun. I mean, the entire ferry, like Matthew said, it was supposed to take like 3.5 hours. On the way back, it took closer to like 5. It was a lot longer, just with all the waves and us having to go slower. But yeah, Korea was cool. I mean, we enjoyed Japan travels as well. I know. Is there anything else about the Korea trip?
Well, I was also going to say I have our Korea itinerary pulled up, and I did not construct this itinerary, and it is a little more loose. However, I did add to it. We had a general plan in here, and this was a shared document, and people were adding their ideas for things to see. Pictures of like, hey, we're in Busan. Let's do the big. Let's go over the bridge that goes to the island, Annam Park and Songdo Yonggwang Suspension Bridge, or the Jangsan Mountain Trail, or the Busan Green Railway, which we went across. This is just to say, like, you know, you should probably like, if you're doing a big trip like this, trying to organize it, you should probably construct an itinerary. You should probably share that itinerary with the people who you're going on the trip with, and then just use that as a space to come up with ideas. If not, just talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the other kind of thing that maybe gets looked over a lot is like what food you're going to get, like what specific places you're going to go to, because I know typically when I go on a trip, I'm not getting that detailed. So then it becomes a little like last minute looking for a restaurant.
Interesting.
The day of. So maybe that's something that I need to work on.
Yeah, you know, the girls that we would go on trips with, they always had ideas about where to go to eat. I think like they were a lot better about seeing interesting restaurants or like cafes that they wanted to go to, and then directing us towards there. Sometimes when I go on a trip and I didn't do a lot of the planning of it, I take a back seat and I just go with the flow, which sometimes you don't really want with travel partners. Sometimes you would like a little more security and knowing that the people you're traveling with also kind of get the gist of what's going on. That trip, for me, there was no gist. There was no gist in here. I'm pointing at my head. I was just being drug along, and it was a lot of fun. Despite that,
it goes both ways, because if it's a bigger group, you want some people to have strong opinions, but then you don't want the group to be split. But you do need people to contribute, you know, ideas and where to go. So it's a little give and take. And I was with you, Matthew. I typically took a more back seat, which wasn't always, you know, the best, since then I couldn't maybe see what I wanted to see or or
True.
contribute good ideas. But
I think keeping the vibes good at a good level is more important than jumping in and being like, hey, we have to do this, or trying to force people to overexert themselves while traveling.
Yeah. I mean, I think typically we did a good job of like hitting all the places we wanted to go and like doing a lot of really fun things. So
yeah, I think so too.
I have really fond memories of all the trips we did. But yeah, even for like food, I think it's important just to at least have an idea of like maybe what you're searching for or what the regional specialties are, because Japan does have every, even city has its own kind of meibutsu or like famous food kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so some are much better than others, I will say. Shouting out the raw chicken or our lotus root that we had, the spicy lotus root.
I did not like karashi
that.
renkon?
No.
It's an acquired taste.
I don't like it. That was disgusting.
You can't eat a lot of it because then you'd get sick because that's too much mustard.
It was very gross for me.
Karashi renkon, you like deep fry a lotus root and stuff like the inside of like where the root is, because there's holes on the inside of a lotus root.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes.
You stuff it with like spicy mustard, and it's kind of a comfort food in Kumamoto.
My host's mom, actually, when she came down to the city, she painted her nails with little karashi renkons.
Yeah.
Or karashi.
Karashi as in like karasu.
Yeah. Not karesh, not boyfriend.
No. Boyfriend root.
Boyfriend root. But so that's something good to look into. I know, like, for example, when we went to like Miyazaki or Kagoshima, like Miyazaki, we always wanted the beef there. We wanted to go to like a all you can eat beef place.
Yeah.
Kagoshima has the like kurobuto ramen, which is like the black pork ramen. So there was always different things that we would actually seek out actively when we were going on those trips, that I think is good to keep in mind, right? Yeah. You don't want to get necessarily baited into just one of the like foreigner restaurants where you see a lot of comfort English and then you feel like you should go there, right? Because I do feel like all of those like izakayas and just all of the like more local restaurants are typically going to have better food and just be a more fun experience, right?
That's true.
The only dangerous part about that is you still do occasionally run into stores where they don't want foreigners.
Yeah.
And that did happen to us several times in different parts of the country. But typically they'll make it pretty clear for you when you walk in. They'll either say like, oh, we don't have seats, or they're like, we don't have English. And even if you say, oh, Japanese is fine, they still might be like kind of pushing you out. So that would happen to us occasionally.
That happened to me in Kyoto.
Yeah.
I walked into this restaurant with my family and they're like, sorry. Like, no, we have no more spots today. And I'm like, oh, dang. Okay. And then I walked out and my sister found it on Tabelog. Yeah. Whatever that service is in Japan to find like open seats in restaurants and stuff. And they had some open seats. And then we put our stuff in, and then we walked immediately back in. It's like, no, we have a reservation. And like, oh, okay. It was immediate. It was snappy. You just got to use the Japanese service.
Yeah. And that I mean, I know, was it in Kagoshima, that like whiskey bar we walked in, and they were basically like, we don't want you here. It's kind of the vibe.
Wait. Are you talking about the shochu bar?
It wasn't the shochu bar. It was like a whiskey bar. It was the one that had the glasses with the mountains. Yeah, they had these cool glasses where they had all the famous mountains of Japan like engraved 3D in the bottom of them. And we walked in and the owner was like, oh, like there's no English here and stuff. And we were like, yeah, that's fine. And he was like, do you know what to order and stuff? And we kind of just pointed at the wall and like picked a random like whiskey, and it worked out. But I had good whiskey. I feel like his vibe was a little more negative.
Yeah, and everyone was looking at us.
Yeah, it was a very small place too.
Yeah.
I know one other time when I was actually in Hiroshima and I went to this okonomiyaki restaurant. This was during my study abroad period, and me and maybe 5 of my foreigner friends, we all walked in, and the people were like, oh, like, we have no seats, like, we can't host you and stuff. And I think someone else kind of stepped in and was like, oh, but we do have like an upstairs. And we're like, okay, like, we'll go upstairs. They put us upstairs, and when I say there was like dust on the table and like there's just like boxes all around you, like, I don't think that thing had gotten used. And then the waitresses or like hostess like never really came up to check on us. So we would have to walk downstairs to order and then like walk back up. It was weird.
That is weird.
There's like, in certain things like that too, you don't know, right? If it's just like how the restaurant runs, but
that's true.
Usually they'll be pretty upfront with you if they don't want you.
Hey, can we talk about traveling to Tokyo?
Yeah.
I don't know. This popped into my brain. Places to avoid in Tokyo.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, we talked about on that episode where we went about like our most overrated tourist places.
Yes.
Harajuku was definitely one that I would not recommend in Tokyo. I don't think the vibes are what it once used to be. And I mean, you are going to go to certain other places in Tokyo where the vibes are cool, but it's just very dirty, which is unlike Japan, right?
Yeah,
in other aspects.
I mean, Tokyo is one of the largest cities in the world, if not the largest city in the world. There's some pretty trashy areas.
Yeah.
Like with trash in the areas.
Yes. And I mean, there's other parts that you might just want to stay away from a expensive standpoint. Like if you're going to Roppongi or Ginza or something, like those are going to be much more higher cost, like retsuraurants most of the time.
Well, this is all dependent on the person. Like if I loved Hello Kitty and Sugoi Nihon Korean hot dog with cheese in it, then I would go to Harajuku and I'd be like, hey, there's the Sanrio store in Harajuku. You should check it out. It's just overrated. I was talking about like places to avoid. Omoide Yokocho. Memory Lane. Do you know Omoide Yokocho?
No.
You gotta know Omoide Yokocho, dude.
It's in Shinjuku. Omoide Yokocho.
It's in Shinjuku, near the overpass where the Shinkansen goes. It's I can't tell you the gate. I can't tell you the gate. It's that small alleyway that you walk down, and it's so crowded, and everyone's trying to get like yakitori or like small little izakayas. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I've never been there, but I'm looking up pictures.
You know the kind of vibe I'm talking. This is like the whole idea behind Omoide Yokocho is like, come experience the small Japanese izakaya in the heart of the big city. And there's like tons of small izakayas and everybody's standing in line. I was berated out of line by a person, like by one of the wait staff members. They're like, we have no seats for you. Get out of line. And I'm like, but you will. What? You will. Yeah. Someone will leave. And they're like, no, we're not doing this. Go, get out. And then they said no foreigners today. And then I'm like, all right, buddy. All right, buddy.
So that is a good point, though, because the one thing that you should definitely watch out for, Japan, overall, very safe country, but people on the street that are trying to bring you into their restaurant. Mm-hmm. Any of those restaurants that I experienced were more seedy places, like were almost trying to scam you. Yes. And especially in Tokyo, right? They might see a foreigner, they might show some English sign, be like, oh, it's all you can drink for like 500 yen or something. Once you get there, though, there's a lot of stipulations attached. So you might sit down. Actually, me and my friends did do this in Tokyo, and we got the worst meal of probably my entire 2 years in Japan, and one of the most expensive meals of my entire 2 years in Japan. So that combination is not what you want.
The Maid Cafe that you ended up.
This was not the Maid Cafe. That one was not a scam. That was just a choice, I'll say. This other place was an izakaya that we got dragged into by some guy on the street. He was like, "Oh, come here, like 500 yen, all you can drink." This was either New Year's Eve or the night before, and we were trying to, get our drink on, a little partying. We go into this izakaya. First of all, first red flag, there's no one else in there, right? Second red flag, we sit down and they're like, "Okay, like, here's a free tequila shot." And it's like a really small shot or whatever. And we're like, "Okay, great." We drink it, right? Of course, that's not free, for one.
Nothing's free, Ike. Nothing's free.
The nomikai, for all you can drink, it required that each person order two, like, things on the menu. 2 pieces of food each. And so I think there were like 4 or 5 of us, so we each had to order 2 things, and those things are not cheap, I will say. And the food was not good. There was like one chef that didn't know how to use salt back there, and we got some very mysterious textured chicken, I'll say, some mysterious textured yakitori. And so it was not a good experience. I definitely walked out of there after I paid, like, I think it was, gosh, we didn't even get that much food. Like, I remember leaving hungry, sober, and like unsatisfied, right? Like,
you hate to see it. You hate to see it.
And then I have to fork over like Niman or something,
my
right?
gosh.
Like, I was like, that was not fun. And so it's just something you have to be careful for. I know other places too. One other restaurant I went into, they would not give you the food menu until you ordered like a drink. And so we couldn't even like look at what we wanted until we ordered a drink. And that was kind of suspicious. And we actually just left. Yeah. We actually just left that one. But
we've had some pretty interesting restaurant experiences. I think what a lot of people who like to travel around Japan and like this, people who end up coming to live there, they will quickly find out is the Nomi Hodai and Tabe Hodai deals are crazy. We talked about this a little, I think, on our second episode. The all-you-can-drink and all-you-can-eat restaurants. Some restaurants will have a deal that'll be all-you-can-drink, and it's like 1,500 yen, something like that.
And most of the time, those are not scams. So I just got unlucky, but they're always legit. The only thing that they will do to try to manipulate how much you drink is it'll just get slower and slower between the time that they bring you drinks back. So maybe the first couple drinks will be rather quick. And then after that, it's like you might have to wait like 20 minutes just to get your next round. Yeah. Right? So,
unless you have a tap with lemon highball,
no!
lemon sour on the table, because then you could theoretically drink as much as you want as quickly as you need.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was an all you can eat like meat restaurant, yakiniku place, and on the table there was just a spout, right? And you could pay like 1,500 yen for as much lemon highball as you could drink. I feel like we weren't able to get through much of it though.
No. Some people had a better experience with that than others. I was one of the lucky ones, I think. Watch how much you consume. Okay. Just overall with the Tabe Hodai, all you can eat, all you can drink, watch how much you consume. I think that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. I do miss that though.
Me too.
I mean, the Tabe Hodai, like, you can find that at some restaurants in the U.S. But Nomi Hodai is like, you're not really going to find that.
No way. I don't know of a Nomi Hodai place. I don't know of any place in America where you can drink as much as you want for a set price. Unless it's a wedding. And I brought a wedding gift. But I don't know, man. It's just...
That's true.
Going out to eat in Japan is so much cheaper than it was in America, even adjusted for cost of living.
It's crazy, yeah. I miss going and just getting a 500 yen bento, just leaving work. We've talked about that so much, but I loved that aspect too. That is another good point though. Budgeting for trips in Japan, right, was another topic that we could discuss. I know typically, depending on location and amount of days, and I mean in Japan too, especially in the more Inaka countryside, you're going to want to bring cash with you, because Japan is still one of those countries that a lot of places still either only allow cash or prefer cash. And so usually nowadays, I think if you're in Tokyo or other like big cities, it's not going to matter. You can use a card, no problem. But I know some of the restaurants in our city and like around us, it was pretty much cash only. So that's one thing you want to watch out for. I mean, the ATMs you can use almost any time except past like 8 o'clock at night. But
yeah, sometimes they'd close down. Sometimes they'd have like extra fees associated.
I feel like the breadth or like the disparity, that's not the right word, but just going to Japan on trips, it can either be very affordable or very expensive, is what I'm trying to say.
I see.
Depending on what you want to do.
You can have it your way.
I think you can find food accommodations that are very cheap. Like, you could probably spend less than $100 per day, food, accommodations, everything included. If that was something
like reasonably, you're on a trip in another country, like you're still doing fun things, right? But you're only spending $100 a day. I'd like to imagine. I'd like to put this in a test case, like a little tateueba. Like, for example, let's imagine you're coming to Japan as a tourist. Okay. How much would you think you'd need to budget for about, let's say, 10 days per day?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's really hard depending on how much you're trying to do and like how much all out you're spending. Yeah. Like, are you getting that A5 Wagyu or whatever, right? Yeah. Like, that's something that's going to make your like triple the price of your trip. But for me, I'll give my personal example. So when I went to Kyoto and Osaka for like a 5-day trip over Golden Week, I think I spent about $700 for like a 5-day trip. I think when I was in Tokyo for about that same duration, I spent maybe closer to like $900. Wow. But when I was in like Okinawa, the only thing there that was really expensive was like the taxis, and that was because of our location that we just had to really go around. Was terrible. But I think in Okinawa I probably spent less, like closer to like 500, and for like a 6-day trip or something.
Does this include in all of these accommodations?
I was about to say, in all of this though, I think that includes, typically it would include all food, like drinking, sightseeing, transportation. Accommodations might add on a little more. I'm usually buying like some sort of figures or goods or something while I am
you're
on
walking
these
away with
too.
a lot of goodies. You're playing the crane game a little too long.
I feel like that was typically about what I would budget for. I think typically it would be like I would have to save like one full paycheck or something. Okay. For each of those trips.
These are bigger trips. Like
those are bigger trips.
I definitely do see like $150 a day to $200 a day. That's not uncommon. If you want to ball out, if you can ball out. But like, I'm imagining I had a cheap day in Tokyo. You know what I did? I got up from my hostel. I went outside, noticed it was about to rain all day, and I went and watched 3 movies all in a row at a movie theater. And I came back to the hostel. You know how much I spent that day? Like $20. For the whole day.
I mean, if you're in like when you're doing our driving trips, right?
Yeah.
We would spend maybe less than $100 on our accommodations.
Totally.
All you're paying for is gas. Like cheaper food. So there, like per day is probably closer to like $50 or something, right?
Yeah, like this being more advice for people who are living in Japan. Like you can have some pretty cheap trips. Look at points of interest not too far from where you live. If you have a car, this is a lot easier to do because you can just drive there. But if you don't have a car, don't be dissuaded. You can take the Shinkansen. It's going to be $50 to go to 2 towns over. but you know, if
because
you
we would do weekend trips that would maybe cost us like $200.
Yeah,
or
to like
that.
Fukuoka, to Miyazaki, Kagoshima, Nagasaki. That was a fun one.
Yeah, it really depends how much you're balling out. I think it can be as affordable or expensive as you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're getting the Don Pellegrino at your local Hostess bar, that's gonna run
if you really want that Hostess bar girl to remember your name, and you get her the Don Pellegrino, your budget for the day is going to be a bit higher. But like if you, I was about to say if you spent the day at the arcade, then it would be cheaper. However, that's not true because
that still can be.
I think we've collectively spent a lot of money at the arcades.
My average trip to the arcade, I think, cost me around $100. I think like every trip.
Every trip?
Because no, it was maybe because I would spend like 5,000 yen on one machine, like just winning one item, and then you're gonna just buy some other things while you're there too. Usually, like I don't know. Or
play some Taiko no Tatsujin.
That's cheap though. Like
you get it's 300 yen for 3 plays. Or I think 100 yen for 3 plays.
It's only like 100 yen.
100 yen per play, maybe.
But it can be as much or as little as you want. Once we get closer, actually, so Sam and I were having our honeymoon in Japan this year, around November timeframe.
Yeah.
So once we get closer there, we'll kind of share our itinerary, what we're gonna do. But I've been mapping that out, and we are trying to ball out on some of the cooler like resorts and hotels and stuff.
You have to.
And so that's going to be a bit more expensive as far as accommodations, but I fully expect once we get there that the food and we are going to get a JR pass as well. So we'll talk about that a little closer when that comes, but I think it's good to be prepared. But
yeah, definitely.
I think especially another topic we'll also cover kind of adjacent to this is first time moving to Japan, like how much money you need to bring, what you need to bring with you. But I know currently a lot of the applicants are still waiting to hear their result.
Oh my gosh, that's true. I wonder if by the time we release this next week, we're recording this on Wednesday, the day in which our previous episode was posted because, I'm busy this weekend. Ike's busy early next weekend. But we asked the Discord today, has anyone heard back? Apparently no one's heard back. It's crazy town out there.
It's insane.
I think in my episode 14.5, I leaked some information about my acceptance experience. And April 5th was when I got my letter saying that I'd been accepted into the JET program. That was back in 2022. Yeah. And obviously it's going to be different every year. However, someone pointed out earlier today in the Discord that April 1st is the start of the fiscal year in Japan. So I believe they're waiting for the fiscal year to start, right? And everything.
Maybe it's budgeting as well as what they're just waiting for.
They're holding it back on the Tokyo end just for one reason or another. They like to do that.
It's crazy
kind of
thing. Though. Yeah. Now, Matthew, as we are getting a little closer, I would love to hear, we've talked a lot about how to plan for trips. What would be your recommended trip for someone going to Japan for the first time?
First time.
We're talking like a 2-week trip to Japan for the very first time. I'd love to hear what spots and like what to make sure not to miss out on.
Sure. Fly into Tokyo.
Yep.
That's my first big advice, rather than flying into Osaka, because you're going to want to see both cities. Tokyo is the largest city, and it's bigger than Osaka, obviously, but they're not too dissimilar. Tokyo is just a lot to take in, and Osaka is more manageable. I've had my entire family agree. They flew into Osaka, and we did all we did Kyoto first. We went to Hakone, which is near Mount Fuji. It's an awesome lake up in the mountains. We talked about that in the other episode. Then we went to Tokyo, and my parents and my sister, her fiance at the time, they all said that it was just too much. And after that nice, relaxing trip in the mountains, coming back down to that was like whiplash. I was fine with it, but I'm just constructed alternatively or whatever you said earlier. Fly into Tokyo, spend 4 days in Tokyo. What do you think?
I think a good chunk of your 2 weeks. I think 4 days is going to be pretty good. Anywhere that you stay more than 4 days for me, it starts to just get repetitive. So at that time, I would also encourage you to try somewhere different. So I think 4 days is a good number. 4 to 5
if you
days,
if you do 5 days, do something that's not touristy. Like honestly, like do all the touristy things. Go to Meiji Jingu Shrine, right? Go to
Akihabara.
Go to Akihabara 2 times.
Yeah, Shinjuku, like go to all those major hot spots. There are going to be a lot of people, a lot of tourists, but that's going to be anywhere that you actually any of those popular attractions. One thing that is currently happening in Japan, if you are thinking about a vacation, if you book directly through or is it ANA? It's ANA. If you book through ANA, you get a free domestic flight.
Oh!
So if you book an international flight to Haneda, you also get a free domestic flight anywhere in Japan.
Dude, that's Pog.
So that is a cool promotion they are doing to try to get people out of Tokyo and like out of. I don't think it includes actually like Osaka and Kyoto. I think you can go anywhere but those like 3 main cities, right? But I completely agree with you, Matthew, that start in Tokyo. I think you will want to go to Osaka and Kyoto if it's your first time in Japan.
Yes.
I think second time in Japan, you can start to see other things.
I think the second time trip discussion is really interesting.
It's so different.
It's so different than the first time trip because there are things you have to do in your time.
Yeah.
Because people are going to ask, "Oh, did you go to Kyoto? Did you go to Osaka? Did you go to Dontonbori? Yeah. Did you even see that, dude? Did you even see Meiji Jingu, dude?" You gotta do the hits, and like it's gonna be fun if you've never been to Japan, because there's gonna be so many things built up. There's a tourist industry for a reason. Osaka Castle is busy for a reason. Everybody does it. You gotta mark it off your list. But once we get to that second time in Japan discussion, that's where I think you're a little more open to trying new things. Maybe you rent a car. That's what I did with my friends. It was their second time coming to Japan. We rented a car. We went down the coast of Kyoto Prefecture, these tiny towns, these tiny little seafood restaurants. It was awesome. It was not something you should probably do in your first time. However, we went to so many onsen places and like middle of nowhere farming towns, things like that. It was so cool for them to see like the true Inaka Japan, coastal seaside Japan. And they walked away. I think it was a better experience than their first time. I believe.
I agree. I think after that initial like 4-day Tokyo, maybe you spend 4 days between Osaka and Kyoto, because at the end of the day, I think Kyoto has more to do than Osaka. I think in Osaka, there's only like Dotonbori and like a few other hot spots, but I really love Osaka. I think the food there is some of the best.
The
like
nightlife
you have to try
awesome.
The nightlife. You have to try the street food. Just eat as many takoyaki, gyoza, yakitori as you can. Like just eat as much of that as you can. Kyoto, go to all those, Fushimi Inari, go to Kinkakuji, like go to all of those places. Depending on the time of year, it might be crowded. The other thing to watch out for that we hadn't really talked about, which don't have to get into, but just watch out for rainy season in Japan.
True.
So definitely, watch out for that. But after that, I feel like that's maybe 8 out of your, 12 to 14 days. I feel like after that, I would really encourage you to pick a place, maybe take one of those domestic flights. I would say between Fukuoka, Hiroshima, or like Hokkaido, like Sapporo or something. Like, I think it's still popular, right? Yeah. It's still a place that a lot of tourists are going to go to, but whichever one like interests you most, I still think it would be like, I would encourage you to like try to, even for a first time trip. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think if you have 2 full weeks there, it's going to be, you're going to run out of things to do in like Kyoto, Osaka,
2 weeks versus
Tokyo.
10 days.
Yeah. I mean, 10 days, maybe you can't get to one of those places. Yeah.
I was thinking on a 10-day trip, like you leave Friday, then you come back the next Saturday, right?
And you lose like a day and a half of traveling. So
you do 4 days in Tokyo, 2 days in Osaka. You're already at 6 days, a couple days in Kyoto. I think there's enough time to do like a day trip to any of the places around either Tokyo or Kyoto or Osaka. And I think that's kind of a popular thing to do. You could even go to
Himeji Castle or something too.
Yeah, if if you want to go skiing, like go up to like Nagoya or Nagano, not Nagoya. I don't know, like take a day trip to a local place rather than if you're going for 2 weeks, like try and go to another city like Fukuoka or Hokkaido, like go for it. But I think if you only have 10 days, then you just
10 days is harder.
Trip.
Yeah,
stick to a day trip.
Yeah, that's fair.
I went to Hakone with my family and with my friends in 2 separate trips as like a day trip. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. It was so cool.
Yeah. I mean, I did a similar thing where my mom, it was her second time coming to Japan. The first time we had already done all the big cities. So the second time she came, we did that trip all through Shikoku. Yeah. And then we even went down into Kyushu. So there's a lot of possibilities, right? Like I think every city in Japan has a very unique vibe. Yeah. And like it is so nostalgic, right?
It is so nostalgic. Dude, like, I've been talking to Japanese ChatGPT to help my Japanese practice, and it's just making me even more Natsukashi, even more nostalgic. I want to go back, man. I'm so jealous. Can I crash your honeymoon?
I'm so excited to go
Actually,
again.
never mind. I don't want to do that. You guys go have fun.
Yeah, I'll save what we're doing till later, but I think we are getting a lot more, because now since we've lived in Japan and we've hit all those spots, every time you go, it does reopen the possibilities. So we're doing a lot of like non-touristy cities, I feel like, and stuff. So yeah, true. But I think the only other things I want to mention was things you have to do in Japan besides the cities. I think you have to go to a yakiniku place where you can get all you can eat meat. Yes. Maybe get one of the expensive courses if you feel up to it. A5. Well, A5 is maybe even a little too much.
A6. That's not a thing.
The coveted A6.
Some people say it's real.
But you have to go to a yakiniku place.
Kaiten sushi.
You have to go. Kaiten sushi. Find your favorite conveyor belt sushi place. Eat as much as you can. That place charges per plate though, so watch out. It's not all you can eat.
Not like the other ones.
Contrary to other belief. Go to a good ramen place.
Yeah.
I feel like besides like
you should do like an izakaya type place. I would recommend, like, if you don't want to deal with people being mean to you, go to Mirai Zakaya. Mirai Zaka. Mirai Zaka? Hold on. I gotta look this up. Mirai Zaka. Mirai Zaka. I always get that wrong. Mirai Zaka. It's a
is it like a chain?
Yeah, it's a chain. Dude, izakaya. Yeah, thank you. It's late. It's a chain izakaya, and it's awesome fried food. There was one in our town, dude. We never went. I started going
Where? That's crazy.
In like the main central area. I started going like right after you left.
No.
It was really good.
Well, we never did. You ever go back to when it was Lent and you couldn't eat the chicken?
When it was
Did you ever go back to that izakaya?
No. Sorry. Wait, Friday during Lent. Which one?
There was the one izakaya. It was the boys went there.
Yeah, no, that's the one. That's the one.
That's not a chain though. That was the cafe.
That's a chain. Oh,
the cafe by day, izakaya by night.
Yeah. No,
it had the Oh my gosh, dude! It had the most legendary. The fried chicken there, like she was just rubbing garlic inside it.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was,
that was good.
so delicious.
That was actually...
You couldn't eat it.
Oh, well, it smelled really
You
good.
couldn't
It
eat
looked really
it.
good.
That's why I was sad, because you didn't eat the chicken that day. That was so
really
depressing.
good. It looked really good.
You got like a veggie pizza.
I
or something.
imagined that I was eating it and I was living vicariously.
That's so funny. But yeah, I think if anyone has more questions, we'd love to recommend certain things to do.
We've only just covered food and like what things you have to do.
What else is there to
What
do?
else do you have to eat? You gotta eat. You gotta drink.
You gotta go to karaoke.
Gotta go to karaoke.
Do an arcade.
Yeah, gotta do an arcade.
Arcade karaoke.
I took my
like
mom to play
maybe
Taiko no Tatsujin.
Yeah, I would recommend like a mall, because malls are huge in Japan.
Yeah.
Walking through.
Go to a stationery store.
Oh, like a Daiso or something?
No, like more like a Tokyo Hands.
Oh, Tokyo. Oh yeah, Tokyo Hands is good.
Or
Those
like
places
just,
are cool.
like kind of I don't want to say niche, but like really Japanese stationery and like pens.
Go
and
to
stuff. You get a lot
go
of
to
good pens.
Uniqlo.
Go to
Uniqlo is lit.
If you've already been to a Uniqlo, I mean, I guess you could go to. It's cheaper in Japan. It is from Japan, so you know.
I liked Uniqlo. I got a lot of
good.
clothes there. I mean, that's all I would
Go
think
to a
about. I
resale
don't know.
store.
Oh, like Off House or
Off House,
Book
yeah.
Off. Yeah, that's true.
I was at a resale store with my mom. Keep bringing up this trip, but we were browsing through all the things, and we get over to the clothes, and she pulls out this thing, and she's like, "Oh, this would be a great table runner," you know, like a piece of cloth for the table where the candles all go and stuff. It was an obi for someone's yukata, not yukata.
Yeah.
Kimono. Thank you.
Okay.
Even though I've been
It's okay.
practicing.
I lost it at the first half of this episode. You're just losing it.
I'm losing it towards the end, dude.
We're all good.
She pulled up this obi from this kimono, and it was like, we could use this as a table runner. I still have it.
Do you use it as a table runner?
No, we haven't used it once. I'm like, this is
funny.
someone's belt.
Yeah.
Ceremonial belt. Anyway, I think we should wrap this up, dude. I'm starting to lose it.
I'm trying to rack my brain for what else to do in Japan. I think
Like
it was so normalized to us, right?
Yeah.
Because we did live there for so long that it's like it's hard to think of. I mean, there's obviously things I want to do going back,
Sure.
but as far as like special things,
And that
I
you
feel
will have the chance to do.
yeah, that's true too.
Well, we will get to that once you get closer to your trip. And of course, if you think there's anything we missed about must-dos, must-sees in Japan, you should leave a little bit of a comment below on our videos. Leave a like as well. Maybe even press that subscribe button, because it shows us you care.
That would be amazing. We love people that care.
Or if you're listening on Spotify, press that follow button. Leave a comment. Leave a rating if you think we're good. Are we good enough? Am I good enough? Ike, am I good enough?
It's only up to the viewer, Matthew,
Dang,
the listener.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
I
Any
can't
final
answer.
words?
No, I wish everyone has the ability to visit Japan. Like I wish that people could just go, because it is a great country. So
Well said. I'll play us out.
okay, an outro.
Thanks for listening. The Deskwarmers. Deskwarmers Podcast. Deskwarmers is a podcast too. Deskwarmers.